Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this 3D daffodil granny square. I think it turned out pretty nice. I'll give you a quick measure here. It's about a 6.5 inch granny square. And it's not extremely hard, but I would consider it an intermediate pattern. So if you're a super beginner, I probably wouldn't recommend starting out on this granny square. But definitely intermediate, you'd be able to do it. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project, you can just use scrap yarn if you want. That's fine. I'm using Caron Simply Soft. It is a 100% acrylic medium 4-weight. You don't have to use this brand. Any type of medium 4-weight will work. So I'm using a white, and this one is a neon orange. This one's called Super Duper Yellow, and then a green, Kelly Green. So like I said, any type of scrap yarn. You don't even have to do it in these colors. It's your flower, however you want to do it. But those are the colors that I'm using. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. And as always, I just want to take a second to ask you, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you wanted to do so right now, if you look down in the lower right hand corner, you'll see a little red subscribe button. If you click on that, you'll automatically be subscribed, and then you won't miss any of my videos. And also, if you like this granny square, you think it looks pretty cool, if you could give it a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. That really helps me out. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start off with a slip knot on our hook. Now I'm going to work a chain of 4. So we're starting on the center of the daffodil first, the orange part. Now, if you want to use the magic circle here, that's fine. You can do that. But I chained 4, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring. Just like that. And now I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work 16 half double crochets through the center of my ring. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go through the center of the ring, draw up a loop, and do my half double crochet. And I want to do that 16 times. So that was 1, this one will be 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. Okay, I got my 16 half double crochets. So what we're going to do for round 2 is we're going to be working in the back loops of our stitches. So if you look at your stitch, I'll just show you real quick. You go through, you see there's 2 loops. The one closest to you is the front loop, and the one furthest away is the back loop. We are going to be working in the back loops only. So we're going to end round 1 by slip stitching into the back loop only of our first half double crochet. Not that chain 1 way down there, it's probably lost anyways, but the first half double crochet, back loop only, and slip stitch. Just like that. So now if you pull your tail, it'll usually close up that circle just a little bit more. But we always we'll sew it together at the end later, so that little circle, well, that hole there will be gone. So now you'll have 16 stitches at the end of round 1. So for round 2, what we're going to do is chain 1. That chain 1 does not count as a stitch. We are going to work 1 double crochet right there into that very same spot through that back loop only there that we just slip stitched into, a double crochet like that. And now I'm going to put a double crochet into the next stitch, back loop only, double into the next, back loop only, and then the next one I'm going to put 2 double crochets into the back loop only. So 2 into the same stitch, back loop only. So what we did there was we did 3 double crochets in a row, and then we did 2 double crochets into the next stitch, all into the back loop. And that's the repeat now. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. Back loop only. And if you notice, kind of when you go through the back loop, it kind of stretches out because you're only going through 1 loop. I always like to kind of grab it right here with my thumb so it doesn't stretch out so much as I work my double crochet. That's just what I do there. So I need to do 3 in a row. There's 1. Remember, back loops only. 2. 3, and then the next one is going to be 2 doubles into the same stitch, back loop only. Again, 1 double into the next 3 stitches, back loop only. And then 2 doubles into the next stitch. Just like that. Well, I'm almost done, so I'll go ahead and finish. 1 double into the next 3 stitches. And your last stitch should be 2 double crochets into the same stitch, back loop only. Now we're going to go ahead and end round 2 by slip stitching into the top of our first double crochet, but we're not going to be working in the back loops now. We're just going to go through both loops. So right here, your first double, go ahead and end with a slip stitch like that. Okay, you should have a total of 20 stitches now at the end of round 2. Now I'm going to put some picots around it real quick, just to give it a little bit of a decoration, I guess. So I'm going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. I'm going to go right back into that same spot and single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch. And here's where I'm going to put a picot. So I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch. Some people slip stitch into their first chain to make a picot. I go through the side. I think it holds the stitch better, like that. Just go ahead and slip stitch right through there. And what that does is puts a little point on it, just for decoration. Now I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next stitch. Remember, we're working through both loops now again, not just the back loops anymore. 1 single into the next. And now I'm going to put a picot. So I'm going to chain 3. Go back right back down through here. I grab these 2 side stitches and slip stitch. Like that. 1 single crochet into the next stitch. 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then picot into the next. And now I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my starting point. And that's what it starts to look like. So 1 single into the next, 1 single into the next, and then picot. So chain 3 and slip stitch right here through the side to form your little ball on top. Just like that. So I'm going to keep repeating that pattern until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end here. Now my last stitch was a picot. Now I'm going to end round 3 by slip stitching into my first single crochet over here. Not this chain 1, but the first single crochet. And you'll have 20 stitches, so and 10 of them will be picots. So, like that. Now I'm going to clip this yarn and start in on a new color. So there we have the center of the daffodil, which I'm going to take just a second to sew up that center circle so it's not in our way while we're trying to work the tail. Anyways, I just kind of go around. Pull it tight, and that should, while you're hiding the tail, it will close up that circle. Okay. Put it right side like that. You want the right side of your double crochets to be facing like that. So there is the orange part. So now I'm going to continue with my yellow, and we're going to make the petals, and this will be round 4. That's what we're going to be starting on. So we're going to be working in the front loops. These loops back here that we skipped before. There should be 16 of them. This one right here might be kind of hard to see because it was that slip stitch, but you'll get it. So there'll be 16 of these front loops, so we're going to be working in them. Now you can pick any one that you want to start in. So we're going to work, we want our work to be facing this way. So remember, we can start in any of these will be fine, but as long as it's facing you this way. That way our petals are facing the right way. I kind of fold mine in half a little bit and go into that one loop and start your yarn there. Now I'm going to start off with a chain of 2. Now that chain of 2 is counting as a half double crochet. Now in this same stitch, what I'm going to do, I did that chain 2, which counts as a half double. I'm going to do another double right into the same stitch, so 1 double. Remember, kind of hold it here so it doesn't stretch out real bad. Now I'm going to do a triple. I'm going to do another triple. Now I'm going to put a picot on this triple. So I'm going to do a chain of 3. And then I'm going to slip stitch back down right here into the top of the stitch, kind of right through the side. And that's going to make that little ball on top. And now I'm going to do another triple. 1 double, and then I'm going to do 1 half double. So that is our petal. It's a chain 2, which counts as a half double crochet, a double, a triple with a picot, a triple, a double, and a half double. Now I'm going to jump to the next stitch, and I am going to single crochet into it. That loop, 1 loop, remember we're only working in that 1 loop, and single crochet, like that. Now I'm going to jump to the next stitch, and I'm going to make my petal, but I'm going to do a half double crochet, start out with a half double crochet here. So I'm going to go into it, and that 1 loop, I'm going to half double, 1 double, and then a triple, another triple. This triple is going to get a picot on it. So we chain 3, go back in to the side here, slip stitch. Now we're going to do another triple, a double, and a half double, all into that same spot. And there we got our second petal. And that's what we're going to kind of repeat the whole way around now. So we're going to go ahead and single, kind of move my orange down here. So remember, we're working in these front loops only. So we're going to go to the next one, that 1 loop there, and single crochet into it. And then we'll jump to the next one, and we'll make our petal by starting out with a half double crochet. It was just that very first petal that we chained 2. So now we start out with a half double crochet, a double, triple, another triple, picot on this triple, so we chain 3, go back into the top of it and slip stitch there to form our little ball on top, and then we do another triple, a double, and a half double, single into that next 1 loop there, and then we work in the next loop and we work another petal, half double crochet, double crochet, triple crochet, triple crochet with the picot, triple crochet again, half double crochet, or I'm sorry, regular double crochet, and then a half double crochet. Just like that. single into, you gotta really look for the loops. I do anyways. Single into the next loop, and then make your petal, start your petal right here into the next loop. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around. And this is what it's starting to look like. Kind of starting to look like a daffodil, I guess, a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that pattern all the way around. Alright, I have made it back around. I just did my last petal. You should have 8 total. And I have 1 little loop there left. I want to single crochet into that. Like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into the top of my beginning chain 2. Remember that chain 2 we did? Just go ahead and slip stitch right into that. The top stitch of it. I don't even think I'm getting it. It's the yellow, it's too bright for me. There it is. Alright. And then I'm going to clip off my yarn here. So we're done with that color. So now you'll have to fiddle with it a little bit. 8 petals on your daffodil. Now we're going to make leaves. So I'm going to bring up my green. And I'm going to start my yarn, you know, the single crochets that we did in between the petals. That's where I'm going to start. I always just squash this down for now. We can straighten it out later. That way it's not in the way. In any one of those single crochets. Go ahead and pull your yarn through and chain 1. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to work a chain of 3, but I'm going to work a loose chain, not real tight. And I'm going to jump over, cross this petal, and into that single crochet in between the next 2 petals. I'm going to single crochet right into it. Like that. And then I'm going to chain 3 again, not real tight, just kind of normal, or a little bit looser than normal. Jump over this petal here, and then that single crochet in between, right here, in between the 2 petals that we made. I'm going to single crochet right into it. And that's what I'm going to repeat all the way around. Chain 3. Cross over this next petal and single crochet right there into that single crochet that's between the 2 petals. So this spot right here. Chain 3 and repeat. Jump over that next petal, single crochet into that single crochet that's in between them. So I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to the beginning. So this would be round 5 that we're on now. If we're counting rounds, this would be round 5. So just like that. Alright, I'm coming to the end here of round 5 here, my chain spaces. I just did a chain 3 here at the end, and I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet. Now I'm not going to tie off because I'm going to continue with this color, but what I am going to do is kind of pull up on it so I don't lose my spot. So now I'm going to take these chain spaces and I'm going to push them behind the petals. Pull the petals forward. Remember, we can fiddle with them later. Make them work out better, but for now, just get them forward like that. Alright, and you'll have 8 chain spaces now. Now what we're going to do is find out where we left off. Now we're going to slip stitch over into our first chain space. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put a single crochet right through that space. Now I'm going to chain 3. Now I'm going to jump to the next chain space, and I'm going to put a corner to our square, which is going to be the leaves. So I'm going to double crochet 3 together. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, go into the chain space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. And I want to do that 3 times. So that was 1. Again, I'm going to yarn over, go into the same space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 2. One more time, yarn over, go into the same space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 3 times. I have 4 loops on my hook that remain. Yarn over and go through all 4. So there's 1 leaf. We're still going to be working in the same chain space. I'm going to chain 3, and now I'm going to triple crochet 3 together. So I'm going to pull that leaf over, and I'm going to yarn over twice like I'm going to do a triple crochet. I'm going to go into the same spot and draw up a loop. Yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. I want to do that 3 times. So that was our first time. So we're going to do it again. Yarn over twice, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. So that's 2 times. I'm going to do it one more time. Yarn over twice, go into the same spot, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, 4 loops that remain, yarn over and go through all 4. So that was a triple crochet 3 together. Now I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to work one more time in the same spot, a double crochet 3 together, just like we did here. So we're going to yarn over, go into the same spot still, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. You want to do that 3 times, so that counts as 1. There's 2. There's 3. 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 4. So we did our first set of leaves, and that's actually the first corner of our square. Now we're going to chain 3, and we're going to go to the next chain space and single crochet. Then we're going to chain 3, and we're going to go to our next chain space and work our set of leaves again. So we're going to do a double crochet 3 together into this chain space here, the next one. Four loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 4. Now I'm going to chain 3, and now I'm going to triple crochet 3 together, same space, just like we did before for the other set of leaves. 4 loops that remain, yarn over, go through all 4, chain 3, and now we're going to do one more leaf. Here is the double crochet 3 together in the same spot. Four loops that remain, yarn over, go through all 4, and then chain 3, single crochet into our next chain space, chain 3, and then we'll work our set of leaves into the next chain space. And then once we get our complete set of leaves done, we will chain 3 and work a single crochet into the next chain space, and then we will work our set of leaves into the last chain space, and then we'll have 4 sets of leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working my leaves until I get back to the beginning. Alright, I just did my last set of leaves, and I want to make sure I chain 3 after that last double crochet 3 together, and now I'm going to end by slip stitching into this very first single crochet, and now we can tie this color off and start on our next color. So we should have now 4 sets of leaves. So I'm going to be using white now. Now, these triple crochets 3 togethers are our corners. 4 of those. So we're going to start in any one of those right at the top of it. So here is the triple crochet 3 together. Go right there into the top of that stitch. Any of them, just right there in the top of it. Start your yarn, and I'm going to chain 1. This chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Now I'm going to go right back into the same spot, and I'm going to form a corner, which is 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets in the same spot. So that forms the corner. Now I'm going to jump right here to this next chain 3 space, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets right into the space. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Oops. And then I'm going to jump to the next chain 3 space and work 3 double crochets into the chain 3 space. There's 1, 2, 3. Jump to my next chain 3 space and work 3 double crochets. And then my next chain 3 space, 3 double crochets. And now I'm at the corner here. Right here, here's the triple crochet, 3 together. So right here in the top of the stitch, we're going to do our corner. So we're going to go right into it, and we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. And I'm going to repeat what we've been doing now. So I'm going to work 3 double crochets into each one of these chain 3 spaces. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll form a corner right here at the next triple crochet 3 together. So we're going to work 3 double crochets into the next chain 3 space. And then jump to the next one and work 3 double crochets. And then the next one, 3 double crochets. And then there's one more, 3 double crochets. And then right here into the top of the triple crochet, 3 together, we do our corner. So we work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around, so you can see it's starting to square off your flower a little bit now. You're working 3 double crochets in each of these 4 chain spaces here, and then your corner right here at the top of this triple crochet, 3 together. And then you'll have 4 more chain spaces left to work 3 double crochets in each of those. Alright, I've made it back to the end of round 7 is what we're on now, and you should have a total of 64 stitches. So what I'm going to do now is in with the slip stitch into my first double crochet, like that. Now I am going to slip stitch 2 times to my first chain 2 space. And I'm going to go around again. So I'm going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. And in this corner here, I'm going to work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. Now what I'm going to do is just work 1 double crochet in every stitch across until I get to my next corner. And sometimes this guy gets lost, so make sure you pull back your corner here and don't forget him, otherwise your square will be lopsided. So I'm just working across, putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space, or my next corner over there. Alright, I'm coming up on my corner. And I'm just going to go ahead right into the chain 2 space and work my 2 double crochets. Chain 2. And 2 more double crochets. And I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to work 1 double crochet again in every stitch. Remember not to forget this very first guy. So 1 double in every stitch until I get to my next corner, and then I'll work 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner, and then I'll continue around in the same manner until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I've made it all the way around. I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now if you want to make your square bigger, you can keep going around in the same manner as we just been going around to make it as big as you want. But you should have 80 stitches now, and I'm going to go ahead and tie off. I'm going to go around one more time with a row of single crochet. So that was round 8. So for round 9, I'm going to use some yellow, I guess. And I'm just going to go around it one time, edge it with some yellow. You don't have to do this. Single crochet. I'm just going to start in any corner. And I'm going to do the corner the same way we did before, but I'm just going to do it with single crochet. So I'm going to start with a chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and single crochet 2 times. Then I'm going to chain 2 and go back into the same stitch and 2 more single crochets. So just like we did with the doubles, but we're just doing it with singles instead. So 1 more single there. And now I'm going to continue around, making sure I get that first guy there. Putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to my next corner. And that is where I will put 2 single crochets, a chain 2, and 2 single crochets. And then I'll continue around again, working 1 single crochet in every stitch. So it's pretty much the same thing we just did on the previous round, except for we're working single crochets instead of double. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this out, and I'll meet back up with you at the beginning. Alright, I made it back around. I'm going to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into my first single crochet, and now at the end of round 9 I have 96 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and tie this off, and now I'm going to take a moment to hide all my tails real quick, and then we'll see what we got. It's kind of what it starts to look like there. Alright, once you get all your tails hidden, you can kind of mess around with your petals, get them all straightened out, and that's it. That's all there is to it. Pretty little daffodil. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to check out all my tutorials. I have hundreds of them. Also don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you look up in the left hand corner right now of the screen, you're probably seeing my picture of my face about now. If you go ahead and click on that picture, you'll automatically be subscribed. That way you don't miss out on any of my videos. So thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this granny square here. This 3D flower granny square with some leaves on it. It's approximately 7 inches across. Of course, you can make it a little smaller by stopping at 1 row. You can make it larger, as big as you want, just by continuing this round here, the white rounds. You can use this for blankets or bags, or lots of people, granny squares have many uses. So it's probably an intermediate pattern. I would suggest you be intermediate, because you got to do double crochet together and triple crochet together and picots and stuff like that, popcorn stitches right here. So definitely intermediate pattern, but beginners are always welcome to try, as long as you know the basic stitches, and hopefully my teaching will help you along. But let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, for this project I just used some Caron Simply Soft that I had, that skeins that have already been used. You can use any type of yarn that you want, scrap yarn if you want to make, or if you want to make a bag or something out of it, you know, whatever colors you want. But for the square, it doesn't take much of any. So for the yellow, the color I used, this is Caron Simply Soft color Sunshine. You're not going to need much, maybe 10 yards of it. That's just a guess. For the pink, this is Caron Simply Soft. Soft pink is the color, not much of it, maybe 20 yards, probably not even that much. But and then for the leaves, I use Caron Simply Soft. Color is Pistachio, again, maybe 20 yards, if that. And then the white around it is Caron Simply Soft in the color white, and probably the most of that, maybe 30 yards at the most. Those are probably over exaggerating, but I was just to make sure. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Okay, and as always, I just want to take this second to ask you not to forget to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that little bell so you get notifications every time I put a video on. And also, if you like this video, you like this granny square, if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be awesome. So we're going to go ahead and start with a slip knot on our hook. Now we're going to work a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go back in to the first stitch, slip stitch to form a ring. Now we're going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Now we're going to work a popcorn stitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to work 5 double crochets through the center of the ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Now we're going to pull up the loop and remove our hook. Now we're going to go back into our first double crochet from the front, like that. Go back into that loop. Now pull it through that first double crochet there, like that. Pull it kind of tight, and now I'm going to work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and that is your first popcorn. We're going to work 8 of those, so it's going to get pretty tight. So we're going to go ahead and work 5 double crochet again through the center of the ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go ahead and pull up your loop. Now we're going to go back through the first double crochet of this set of 5 through the front of it, like that. Grab that loop and go ahead and pull it through like that. Pull it tight and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and there's your second popcorn. I'm going to slide it over, and I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to work 5 double crochet through the ring. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, just kind of pull your loop up so you don't lose it. Pull your hook out, go through the very first double crochet of this group of 5. Grab that loop again, put it on your hook, and then pull it through that first double crochet like that. Pull it tight and chain 3. And there's your third popcorn. Pull it over. Now I'm going to keep repeating that until I get 8 of these little popcorn stitches made, and they should have chain 3s in between them all. I'll do it one more time. 5 double crochets through the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pull your loop up, go through the first double crochet, grab that loop, pull it through, pull it tight, and chain 3, and then start again. Make sure you slide it over. You got to keep kind of sliding it over. So there's 4. I'm going to do it until I have a total of 8 popcorn stitches. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 1, and I got my 8 popcorn stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 3 after my last one. Now I'm going to end round 1 by slip stitching into the first double crochet of the first popcorn, like that. And I'm going to tie this color off, and I'm going to start with a new color. So at the end of round 1, you'll have your 8 popcorn stitches, and then you'll have 8 of these chain 3 spaces. Now you can pull that tail to close that center circle up, and then we can sew it together the rest of the way at the end. Okay, so now I'm going to start with my flower color, whatever color you want to use for your petals of your flower. And we are going to start it in any one of these chain spaces. You can go ahead and start your yarn. And we're going to work a petal in each one of these chain spaces. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you how we're going to work the petal. Okay, we are going to chain 1. Okay, I'm going to go back into the chain space, and I am going to work a single crochet, a half double crochet, 2 double crochets. Now I'm going to work a picot stitch. So I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch back into the top of this double crochet. Now some people like to go right into the top of it. I go kind of down the side of it like that. Grab those 2 loops. I think it holds better. Then we slip stitch, and that puts a little ball there, or a little point there at the top. Now I'm working in the same space. I'm going to work another double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. So that is how I'm going to work the petal. Now I'm going to slip stitch into my next chain space. So I'm just going to go right over here and slip stitch. And then I'm going to work my petal again. So I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to work a single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2 double crochets. There's 1, there's 2. Then I'm going to do a picot now, so I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to slip stitch right here, kind of in the side of that same double crochet, and that's going to create that little point. Working in the same space, I'm going to work another double crochet, a half double crochet, and then a single crochet. And now you have petal number 2. And that is what I'm gonna work in each one of these chain spaces all the way around. So I'm going to slip stitch right into the next chain space, chain 1, and start again. Single crochet, half double crochet, 2 doubles, a picot, so chain 3, go right back down and slip stitch right there onto the side like that. That creates the picot. Now I'm going to work 1 double in the same space, a half double, and a single. And that is our third petal. So I'm just going to keep repeating this all the way around until I get back to my starting point. So again, into my next slip stitch into my next chain space, chain 1, and make my next petal. Then I slip stitch into my next chain space, chain 1, and make my next petal. And I'm going to keep going until I get right back here to where I started. Alright, I have made it to the end of round 2, and you should have 8 petals now. Now we're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first single crochet of our first petal. I'm going to clip this yarn off because I'm going to start on my leaves now. I like to tie off after my color changes. I'm not really good at color changing. It looks kind of funny if I don't tie off, but if you're normally used to just slip stitching a new color in, you can do that too. That's fine. Okay. So that's what we got so far. So now we're going to start round 3. So whatever color you want to use for your leaves. Okay, we want to start in any one of these. If you look in between the petals, that chain 1 that we made, it's usually right on top of the popcorn. If you see it, it's right there, the little spot. It's really tight, but you can see it in between every petal. See it right there? And it doesn't have to be exactly in that spot, but if you can get it kind of near, it's the chain 1 that we made. So you can start any one of those that you want. And now we're going to start off by working a loose chain of 3. Now we're going to stretch our chain over, and we're going to slip stitch into the next chain 1 space. So it's kind of right on top here. Or the best you can. Get it the best you can. It does not be perfect. And then loosely chain 3. Carry it over. The next chain 1 space. Loosely chain 3. And again, the next chain 1 space. Go right into it and slip stitch, and loosely chain 3. Go to your next chain, or your next chain 1 space in between the petals, and slip stitch. We're going to do this all the way around. Loosely chain 3, and then the next one. I'll just keep going because I'm almost at the end. Just make sure your chain's pretty loose and not extremely tight. You're not going to see it anyway, so go to the next one. Kind of look around for it. Remember, it doesn't have to be exactly in that chain 1, but just get it the best that you can, close to it. Chain 3. Chain 3. And then go ahead and end by slip stitching into the same chain space that you started in. Pull up, but don't tie off. Now that'll be the end of round 3, and you should have 8 of these chain spaces. Go ahead and pull them behind the petals now. There we go. So now the chain spaces are behind our petals, and we can fiddle with it later to make our petals work right. But now we're just going to start where we left off, and we're going to start working some leaves. So you can push your petals forward to see, because we're going to be working in these chain spaces. So this will be round 4 now that we're working on. So what we're going to do is just slip stitch right over to the first chain 3 space, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go back into that same space and single crochet, and then we're going to work a chain of 3 again. So there's 3. Now the next space we're going to put a set of leaves. Okay, we're going to double crochet 3 together into this chain space. So we're going to yarn over, go into the chain space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. We want to do that 3 times. So that was number 1. Again, we're going to yarn over, go into the chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. One more time. Yarn over, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and now you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 4 loops, just like that. Now we're going to do a chain of 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do a triple crochet 3 together in the same chain space. So this time we're going to yarn over twice for a triple crochet, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, and we want to do that 3 times. So that counts as our first one. So again, we're going to yarn over twice, go into the same chain space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops on your hook. So that's 2 times we did that. We're going to do it one more time. Yarn over 2 times, go into the same space and draw up a loop. Yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the next 2 loops on your hook. You'll have 4 loops that remain. Yarn over, go through all 4 loops. So that was triple crochet 3 together. Now we're going to chain 3, working in the same space. Again, we're going to do a double crochet 3 together, what we did down here. We're going to do it again in the same space. So go ahead and slide these leaves over. So we're going to yarn over once, go into the same space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook. Do that 3 times, and that was 1. Yarn over, go into the same space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on our hook. That's 2 times. One more time. Yarn over, go into the same space, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and then yarn over and go through all 3. So that is a set of leaves that we just did, and we worked them all in that one chain 3 space. So now we're going to chain 3, and we are going to put 1 single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then we're going to chain 3, and into the next chain 3 space we're going to work our set of 3 leaves again. So all into the same chain space we're going to do this again. So we're going to first off work a double crochet 3 together. That was 3. I have 4 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 4. Now we're going to chain 3. Go ahead and slide that over because we're still working in the same chain 3 space. We're going to do a triple crochet 3 together. there's 3 of them. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through all 4. Now we're going to chain 3, and in the same space we're going to work a double crochet, 3 together again. That's 3, 4 loops. Now you got your set of leaves again, so we're going to chain 3, and we are going to single crochet into the next chain 3 space, and then we're going to chain 3 and do our set of leaves into the next chain space, and that's what we're going to repeat all the way around. So I'll do my set of leaves here just like we did here, and then you chain 3 and single crochet into the next. Then you chain 3 and do another set of leaves again, and then you chain 3 and you'll be back at the beginning. So you're going to have 4 sets of these leaves, and that's actually the corners of our squares. So go ahead and just repeat this pattern until we get back around to the beginning. Alright, I have made it to the end of round 4, and I just did my last set of leaves and I chained 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet here that we made at the very beginning. And I'm going to go ahead and tie my green off so I can start with a new color. So we can go ahead at the end of round 4 now. You should have 4 sets of these leaves. Like that. So that's what it's starting to kind of look like. Alright. Now you want to take whatever color, this would be the main part of your square. I'm just going to use white for mine. But you choose any color that you wish. Now where we're going to start is in the top of any one, this is round 5, any one of these triple crochet 3 togethers right in the top of it. So like right there. Start right in the top of it. Start your yarn. Chain 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a corner of my square. I'm going to work 2 double crochets in that same spot, a chain of 2, and then 2 more double crochets in the same spot, and that'll work the first corner of my square. Now I'm going to jump to this next chain 3 space, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets right through the space. And then I'm going to jump to the next chain 3 space, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets right through the space. Again, the next chain 3 space, 3 double crochets right through the space. Like that. And there'll be 1 more chain 3 space here, 3 double crochets right through the space. And now we're going to be at our triple crochet 3 together again, and that's where we're going to form our next corner. So we're going to work right into the top of it, right there, like that. And we're going to go ahead and work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets into the same spot, like that. And you can see we have 2 corners formed now, and we're just going to kind of repeat this all the way around. So we're going to work 3 double crochets in each of these 4 chain 3 spaces until we get to our next triple crochet 3 together, and right there is where we'll put our corner. So just go ahead and work 3 doubles into each of the chain 3 spaces until you get to your next triple crochet 3 together. So there should be 4 chain spaces. And now I'm right at the triple crochet 3 together. See it right there? You can pull it apart and see it. You're right next to it. Go ahead and put your corner right in there. We work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more double crochets into that same spot. We have our 3rd corner formed. Now we're just going to repeat this same pattern all the way around until we get back to our starting point. All right, I'm coming to the end of round 5, and you should have a total of 64 stitches now. So now I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now you can quit if you want a smaller granny square. I'm going to go ahead and continue with round 6 and make my granny a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is chain 1, and then I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and double crochet, and then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch, and then my next spot is going to be my chain 2 space. So what I'm going to do in my chain 2 space is the same thing that I'm going to do in all my chain 2 spaces. I'm going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 2, and then go back into the same spot and work 2 more double crochets, just like that. And now I'm going to just work across, putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space. But sometimes this stitch hides. You got to make sure you get that first stitch, otherwise your square will look a little wonky. So in order to keep it straight, make sure you always get this first stitch, and go ahead and double crochet into it, and then work 1 double crochet in every stitch across until you get to your next chain 2 space. Alright, I'm almost there. Now when you get to your next chain 2 space, you're going to do the same thing that we just did in the last chain 2 space. We're going to go right into it and work 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. Now I'm just going to repeat what we've been doing all the way around. Just always remember to get that first stitch, because sometimes he does try to hide. Now I'm just going to keep doing what we've been doing. 1 double crochet in every stitch, and then we're going to work 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles in each of the chain 2 spaces, all the way around until we get back to our starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 6, and you should have a total of 80 stitches now. And go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first double crochet. Now you can keep going around in the same manner as I just did for as big as you want your square. You can switch colors, whatever you want to do. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to clip my yarn. But I'm going to do one more finishing edge on mine. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this off. Now I'm going to go back to my pink, and I'm just going to edge my granny square in a single crochet round. So this will be round 7. So you can start in any one of these chain 2 spaces. And what we're going to do is pretty much the same thing that we just did, but we're going to do it with single crochet instead of double. So we're going to chain 1. So we're going to go into this same space, and we're going to work 2 single crochets, a chain 2, and 2 more single crochets. And that's what we're going to work in every corner. Again, we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Don't forget this first stitch here. I'm going to work 1 single in every stitch until I get to my next chain 2 space. So like I said, we're basically doing the same thing we did on the previous round, except for we're just doing it with single crochet instead of the double. And this is something you don't even necessarily have to do. I just like to edge my granny squares like this. Okay, when you get to your next chain 2 space, you just work your 2 singles, chain 2, and 2 more singles. So I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alrighty, I'm coming to the end of round 7. You should have a total of 96 stitches now. And I'm going to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into my first single crochet. Not the chain 1, but the first single. And then I'm going to tie this off. And now I'm going to hide any remaining tails that I have. And then I'm finished. That is it. That's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. My little popcorn flower granny square. I hope that you were able to follow along okay. Remember, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that bell if you haven't already. That way you don't miss any of the content that I put on, tutorials, and I like to talk about yarn a lot and take people yarn shopping. I have lots of giveaways, so lots of stuff to do. If you look on the right hand side of the screen right now, I'll put a playlist up of all my other granny squares. I got a lot of pretty flower granny squares. If you're into making those, you can check those out too. And thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this flower granny square right here. And it's a lot easier than it probably looks. I'm using a Red Heart Super Saver, which is just medium worsted weight, 100% acrylic. And you can probably just use any scraps that you have. That's what I'm doing. It turns out to be about a 6-inch square. If you want to make it a little smaller, you could leave off this row here, double crochet, and then it would probably be about between a 4 and a 5-inch square. But that's completely up to you. I think this would make a nice afghan or something like that. There's be a link to the written pattern below in the description box. And I'm also going to be using a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, I'm going to start off with the center of the flower. I'm going to be using yellow. And you want to start with a slip knot on your hook. Okay, now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into this very first stitch right here, and we're going to work 6 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, to get that tail out of my way. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now if you pull that tail, you should tighten it right back up, just like that. Now what you're going to need is some type of a stitch marker so you can keep your spot here. I'm just going to use a piece of yarn. So I'm going to stick my piece of yarn right here. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to count back 6 stitches so I know where to start. So I just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So sometimes it's hard to tell. So jump right there into that first stitch. And I'm going to put 2 single crochets into that stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to put 2 single crochets in every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. So 2 in the next, 2 in the next, 2 in the next, 2 again, and then 2 in the last. Now if you count back, you should have 12 single crochets now. Okay, now you're going to take your stitch marker and pull it out, and you're going to move it right back up here like that. Now I'm going to jump right here to my first single crochet and put 1 single crochet in it like that. Now the next one, I'm going to put 2 single crochets into it, and then I'm going to put 1 into the next, and then the next one I'm going to put 2, and I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way around until I get back to my stitch marker. So 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next, 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next. I'll just keep going since I'm almost there. 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, and there should be 2 in the last one. Now if you count back, you should have a total of 18 stitches, counting from your first stitch all the way around to this stitch. Again, we're going to pull our stitch marker out and put it right back here, and we're going to go around one more time. So I'm going to jump to the first single crochet here. I'm going to put 1 single crochet in it, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and now my next stitch will have 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 in that one, and then 1 in that one, and then 2 single crochets into the next. 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. If you can hear that, I'm right by my window. We're having a thunderstorm right now. It's thundering, so if you hear something loud, that's probably what it is. And then 2 single crochets into the next. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around. So 1 single crochet, and then 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets. 1 single, 1 single, and your last one should have 2 single crochets. Now if you count back again, you should have 24 stitches, and you need to have that number 24. And if you have that, what we're going to do is go ahead and just slip stitch into that next stitch like that, take that stitch marker out. You don't need it anymore. And then I'm going to clip this color. Like that. And now I'm going to start with the color that I'm going to use for my petals. So I'm going to use pink this time. You can use any color that you wish. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be working in the front loops only this time around. So you can see how each loop has, or each stitch has 2 loops. The one closest to you is called the front loop, and the one back farthest from you is the back loop. So just go into the front loop only and go ahead and start your yarn. And I'm going to start it by chaining 1. Like that. And I'm going to go right back in that same stitch, front loop only, and single crochet. And I'm going to put 1 single crochet in the front loop only of every stitch, all the way around. Remember, front loop only, because we're going to do the back loops later. It's kind of hard to see sometimes. You got to get it just right, but one single every stitch all the way around, front loop only. And you want to do that until you get back to the beginning. Okay, when you make it all the way around, you should have 24 single crochets worked in the front loops only. And they kind of come up like that, and that's fine. And if you flip it, you'll see the back loops there. And we're going to be working in them later. So when you make it all the way around, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet. Not the chain 1, but the first single crochet that you made. Like that. And now we'll start making the petals. So we're going to chain 1. And working right back into this same stitch that we just slip stitched into. We're going to do a single crochet. 3 half double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and a single crochet. So that all went into the same stitch. It was chain 1, single, 3 half doubles, and then another single. Now what we're going to do is slip stitch 2 times. So you want to make sure you get this stitch. Sometimes it's hidden underneath the petal. So pull your petal back and you can see slip stitch into that next stitch. So that's 1 time. And then slip stitch again into the next one. And that's 2 times. Now we're going to do this petal again. So we're going to chain 1. And working in the same stitch, we're going to put 1 single, 3 half doubles. There's 1, 2, 3, and then 1 single. And now we're going to slip stitch 2 times, so make sure you pull this over and you're getting the right stitch to slip stitch into. So there's 1 slip stitch, and then slip stitch into the next stitch, and that's where we'll start our next petal. So we chain 1 and work 1 single, 3 half doubles, so there's 1, 2, and 3, and then 1 single, just like that. And this is what we're going to repeat all the way around. So again, we're going to pull it over and we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, slip stitch 2 times. So there's 1, and then slip stitch again, that's 2, and this is the one that we'll do our next petal in. So we're going to chain 1 And in the same stitch, we're going to single crochet, 3 half double crochets, and then 1 single crochet, like that. Do it again, slip stitch in the next 2 stitches, so there's 1, 2, chain 1, and this is where I'll put our next petal. 1 single, 3 half doubles, and 1 single. And we're just going to repeat this all the way around. And the more petals you get, the more they're going to kind of start to crunch up a little bit. So you really have to make sure you pull the final petals back to get these stitches, because you don't want to miss any stitches. Slip stitch over 2 times, chain 1, and I'll start my next petal there. So I'm going to continue this all the way around, and when I get back around, I should have 12 of these little petals. Okay, once you make it around and you're back to the beginning and you have your 12 petals, you should have 1 stitch left there to slip stitch into. And then you want to slip stitch into this chain 1 of the first petal, or somewhere near it. Maybe this little spot here, just somewhere to close it off would be fine. Doesn't have to be exact, like that. And then we're gonna clip that off like that. And there's the first part. Now we're going to do the second row of petals. So we're going to, let me clip off some of these tails back here so you can see what I'm doing here. I hid most of them while I was working them. Okay. Now we're going to start with the petal color again. And now this is where we're going to be working in these back loops that we skipped. So if you fold your petals down like this, you can see them. Just want to go into it like that. And you want to start your yarn, and you want to start by chaining 1. Like that. And then we're going to go right back into that same stitch and single crochet. And now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch of these back loops, working in these back loops from that previous row. And you can see them right here pretty good when you flip it back. Just keep pushing your petals up so you can see where you're going. And we're going to do this all the way around back to the beginning. When you get back to the beginning, you should have 24 single crochets. So just like that, and that's what it starts to look like. Okay, once you made it all the way around and you have your 24 single crochets, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first single crochet, and not the chain one we did, but the first single crochet. And now we're going to start our next row of petals, and we'll start right here in this first stitch that we slip stitched into. So we're going to chain 1, and this is what we're going to do for the second row of petals. Right back into this same stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 half double crochet, 1 double crochet. Now we're going to do 3 triple crochets. Oh, let me start that one over. 3 triples. That's where we yarn over twice. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to work in the same stitch still, 1 double, 1 half double, and 1 single. So there's a lot of stitches in there, but that's going to be our big petals on the back. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch over 3 times this time. So pull this over and make sure, see, it's hidden. Pull it over and make sure you get this very first stitch, because if you don't, your count's not going to come out right. You're not going to have the right amount of petals. So slip stitch 3 times. There's 1, 2, and then one more time. It's 3, and this is where we're going to start our next petal. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work 1 single, 1 half double, 1 double, 3 triples. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then we go in and we put 1 double, 1 half double, and then 1 single, and that forms our next petal there. Now we're gonna slip stitch over 3 times again. Pull this back so it's important that you get this first one here. So that's 1, slip stitch into the next, that's 2, slip stitch into the next, that's 3, and that's where we're going to start our next petal. So we're going to chain 1. Here we go again. 1 single, 1 half double, 1 double, 3 triples. So there's 1, 2, and 3. 1 double, 1 half double, and 1 single, like that. Slip stitch over 3 times. Make sure you pull that back to get that first one. So there's 1 slip stitch, 2 slip stitches, and 3 slip stitches, and that's where we'll start our next petal. Start by chaining 1, and we're just going to repeat that all the way around, and when you get back around this time, you'll have 8 petals on this round. Okay, when you make it back around and you counted and you got your 8 petals, after you did your last petal here, you should have 2 stitches left to slip stitch into. So go ahead and slip stitch into those last 2 stitches. And then we're going to slip stitch one more time right over here in the chain 1 area. Doesn't have to be exactly, but kind of just right about here of the next petal. I'll probably slip stitch right there in that spot. I think that might be the chain 1, but if not, it's close enough. Now I'm going to tie this off, clip my yarn. And now we can look at what we have so far. So now we got the flower made. Straighten it out a bit. Now we're going to work on the leaves. But before we do the leaves, we need to make some chain spaces for the leaves to attach to. So I'm going to use my green right now. And I'm going to start it in the back row of petals, in between them, right here, like in this slip stitch, or in this one of these little slip stitches in between the 2, like right here is where I'll start my yarn. And what I'm going to do is start with the chain, loose chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to jump right on over in between the next 2, and I'm going to slip stitch into that same spot. So just right in here. Doesn't have to be exact, but right around in here where the slips, one of the slip stitches were in between the petals is what you want to grab. Then slip stitch, loosely chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we're going to jump over in between the next 2 and slip stitch in between those. So right here is the slip stitch. Just go right into it and slip stitch this in there. Loosely chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go in between the next 2 and slip stitch. And this is what we're going to do all the way around. Just slip stitching, loosely chain 4 in between each of the big petals. And this is going to make some chain spaces so we can attach our leaves to. Chain 4, and then the next one right here in between, slip stitch. And I'm going to do this all the way around, and when I get back around I should have 8 of these chain 4 spaces. Okay, once you make it back to the beginning, just go ahead and slip stitch into the same spot that we started our yarn into. Like that. And now we're going to kind of pull this up. We're not going to tie it off. Now we're going to take these chain spaces and we're going to push them behind the petals. Like that. Alright, so we can straighten up that again later. Okay, now we're going to work on the leaves. What we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch over into this first chain space. So just slip stitch right into that first chain space, and we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to do 1 single crochet in that space. Like that. Now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Just loosely chain 3. And now we're going to go to the next chain space, and this is where we're going to make our first set of leaves. So we have that chain 3 on our hook, and now what we're going to do is a double crochet 4 together in this chain space. So we're going to yarn over, go through the space, and draw up a loop, and we're going to yarn over and go through those first 2 loops on our hook, and we're going to do that 4 times total. So that was 1. So we're going to yarn over again, go through the space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through first 2 loops, so that's 2 times. Again, yarn over, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, that's 3 times. One more time, we're going to yarn over, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and we'll have 5 loops remaining. Now we're going to yarn over and go through all 5 loops. So what we just did was a double crochet 4 together. Now we're going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the same chain space, we're going to do a double or a triple crochet 4 together. So that's kind of done the same way, but we do it with triple crochets instead. This time we're going to yarn over twice, and we're going to go through the same chain space and draw up a loop. And we're going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on our hook, and then we're going to yarn over and go through the next 2 loops on our hook. And we're going to do that 4 times total. So that was our first one. So we're going to yarn over twice, go into the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over, go through the next 2 loops. So that's 2 times. Yarn over twice, go through the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on your hook, go through the next, yarn over and go through the next 2 loops on your hook. So you can see that's 3 times, so we're going to do it one more. We're going to yarn over twice, go into the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops. So that was 4 times we did that, and we have 5 loops remaining. We're going to yarn over and go through all 5 loops. So that is a triple crochet 4 together. Now we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do a double crochet 4 together again in the same space. So what we're going to do is yarn over in the same chain space and drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and we're going to do that 4 times total. So that was 1, yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, that's 2 times, yarn over, go through the space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, that's 3 times, and one more time we're going to yarn over, go into the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and we'll have 5 stitches remaining, yarn over and go through all 5. So that is our first set of petals. So now we're going to chain 3 loosely and come to the next chain space, and we're just going to do 1 single crochet through the chain space like that, and then we're going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do a set of petals into the next chain space. So here we go again. We're going to start off with a double crochet 4 together. So we're going to yarn over and go into the space, drop a loop, and yarn over, go through the first 2. We're going to do that 4 times. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 5. So that's our first double crochet 4 together. Kind of slide it over, and I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do my triple crochet 4 together in the same chain space. So I'm going to yarn over twice, and in the same chain space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through the next 2. So I'm going to repeat that 4 times total. So this is the first one. So I'm going to yarn over twice, go into the next one, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2 again, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go to the next 2. There's 3. I need to do it one more time. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2. 5 loops remaining. Yarn over, go through all 5. That's my triple crochet 4 together. Chain 3, and in the same space again, I'm going to do one more double crochet 4 together. So I'm going to yarn over, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and I want to do that 4 times total. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 5 loops, and that is my second set of petals. I want to chain 3, and then I'm going to put 1 single crochet into my next chain space, and then I'm going to chain 3 again. And now my next chain space, I'll work my next set of petals. And I'm going to continue this around until I have 4 sets. So this will be my next set of petals, and this will be my single crochet. And then I'll have my next set of petals, and then I'll be back at the end. So go ahead and repeat that until you get your 4 sets of petals. Okay, I just did my last set of petals, and you want to make sure you chain 3 after your last double crochet 4 together. And now we're going to end it by slip stitching into this very first single crochet that we did here. And then we can clip this and tie this yarn off, because we're not going to be using this color anymore. Like that. And now pull out your corners a bit. Now you got some leaves on your flower. Now we're going to start going around it and squaring it off a little bit more. So I'm going to use some white. You can use whatever color you want. Now I'm going to start in at the top of any one of these triple crochet 4 togethers. So right there, here's the triple crochet 4 together, right in the top of it, this stitch right there is where you want to start your yarn. And I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to work right back in the same stitch, and I'm going to work 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2, and then I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work 2 more double crochets back into that same spot, and that formed our first corner of our square. Now I'm going to, in each one of these chain spaces, there should be 4 of them across here, I'm going to put 3 double crochets in each of them. So I'm just going to go right through the chain space, and I'm going to work 3 double crochets through the space. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to jump right over to the next chain space right here, and I'm going to work 3 into that space. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then the next chain space is right here. 1, 2, 3, and then the next chain space is right here in between these 2 leaves. There's 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to form our next point by working in the top of this triple crochet 4 together. So that spot right here, this one stitch right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 double crochets into that stitch, and then we're going to chain 2 and work 2 more doubles into that same spot. Just like that. And now we got our second corner formed. And now I'm going to work 3 double crochet in each of the next 4 chain spaces. So there's 1, 2, 3, jump to the next chain space, 1, 2, and 3, and jump to the next chain space, 1, 2, and 3, and the next chain space is right here in between these 2 leaves, 1, 2, 3, and now we're at this triple crochet 4 together, so in the top of it we're going to work our next corner. So we're going to go right into that one stitch there in the top of it and work 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. And now we're just going to keep repeating this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. So it'll be 3 double crochet in each of the next 4 chain spaces, and then you'll have to do the corner, and then 3 double crochets into the last 4 chain spaces, and then you'll be back at the beginning. Okay, I made it back to the beginning, and you should have a total of 64 stitches now all the way around. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch right here into my first double crochet, not the chain 1 but the first double crochet, just like that. Now if you want it to be this size, you can just be done if you want. I'm going to go around again. So what I'm going to do to make a 6-inch square, I might make something out of this, I'm not sure, but I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and double crochet, and then I'm going to put a double crochet into the next stitch. Now I'm at my chain 2 space, and I want to do a corner there into the corner right here, this chain 2 space. So I'm going to work right through the space, 2 doubles, a chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. So that's how we do every corner. And now what I'm going to do is work across and put 1 double crochet in every single stitch until we get to our next corner. So you want to make sure you get this first stitch, and then 1 double in every stitch. Okay, I'm going to my next corner, and when I get to that, I just want to work into the chain 2 space, and I want to work 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles all into that same space. And then make sure you get that first stitch, and now I'm just going to repeat 1 double in every stitch until I get to my next corner. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. And when I get back to the beginning, I should have a total of 80 stitches this round. Okay, when you make it all the way around and you have your 80 stitches, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first double crochet, not the chain 1 but the double. And I'm going to go ahead and tie off now. Now if you wanted to do like it bigger, you could always go around again or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and stop now. And one last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my corners here to get them nice and straight. I am going to go around it with the same color as my flower and put a little pretty edging on it. So I'm going to start in any one of these corner spaces. And I'm going to start off by chaining 1. And I'm going to go right back into this same corner space, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more single crochets. So just like we did before, only we're using singles instead of doubles. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet. Make sure you pull this back and get this first one in every stitch until I get to my next corner. And then when you get to your next corner, we just do the same thing. We put 2 singles, a chain of 2, and 2 more single crochets into that same space. And then we're going to go across. Make sure you get that first one, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. And when I get back to the beginning, I should have a total of 96 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, I've made it all the way around, and I'm going to end by slip stitching into my first single crochet, not the chain one, but the single crochet. And I'm going to tie that off. And now I'm going to take a second to hide all my tails real quick. Okay, once you get all your tails hidden, that is kind of straighten it all out, and that's it. That's all there is to it. It wasn't that hard, I don't think. I tried to explain it as best as I can. I hope that you were able to follow along okay. And don't forget to check me out on Instagram too. I'll put that below where you can see some of my projects on there. And until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this a rose granny square. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. And it actually turns out to be about a 6-inch granny square. But you can definitely make it smaller or bigger just by adding more or less rows. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project, I'm just using regular Red Heart Super Saver, which is a worsted weight 100% acrylic yarn. Just fine. And we're going to be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Okay, we'll start with the flower. Find the end of my yarn here. And you want to start off with a slip knot on your hook. And now we're going to work a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to slip stitch right back into the first stitch to form a ring. Now if you know how to do the magic circle, you could always do that here too. I'm not very good at it, so I'm going to do it this way. Okay, now I'm going to do a chain 1, and now I'm going to work a single crochet through the center of the ring. So I'm going to go right through it, pull my yarn through, and single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2. I'm going to go back through the center of the ring and do another single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2. And I'm going to do that again. Go right through the center, single crochet, chain 2. And I want to do that a total of 8 times. So you'll probably have to keep sliding your stitches over. So I just did 3. This will be my 4th one right here. Go through single crochet, chain 2, again, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2. Now let me count and make sure. What you need is you want to make sure you have 8 of these chain 2 spaces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this right here, this last chain 2 I did is going to be 8 of the chain 2 spaces. And now with this last one, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into our very first slip stitch that we did. So be kind of tight, but right about there. Just like that. Now we got 8 of these chain 2 spaces, and that's where we're going to be working. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch over into the very first chain 2 space. Just going to go right through it and slip stitch, just like that. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go and single crochet through this space, like that. And now I'm going to put 2 double crochets through the same space. So I'm going to yarn over and there's one double, again, two doubles, and then I'm going to go back in the same space and put a single, and then one more time I'm going to go back in the same space and slip stitch. Just like that. So that chain 2 space got a slip stitch, single crochet, 2 double crochets, a single crochet, and another slip stitch. So now I'm going to jump over to my next chain 2 space right here and slip stitch and chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then single crochet, and then slip stitch. All of that went to the same space. Now I'm going to find my next chain 2 space right here, jump right over and slip stitch into it, chain 1, and single crochet, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then I'm going to single crochet and slip stitch, just like that. And I'm going to be working that in every single one of these chain 2 spaces all the way around. And when you get back, you'll have 8 petals. These are our first row of petals. Here's the next chain 2 space. Go ahead and jump over to it and chain 1, slip stitch through it and chain 1. Now I'm going to do a single crochet, 2 doubles, 1, 2, and then a single and a slip stitch. Slip stitch over into my next chain 2 space, chain 1, single crochet, 2 double crochets, there's 1, 2, single crochet, and slip stitch. So I'm going to do this. I think I got 3 spaces left, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that out. Okay, once you make it all the way around, you should have 8 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I just did the last slip stitch for my last petal. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some chain spaces to put my next row of petals on. So I'm going to do a loose chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to bring it on over to in between these 2 petals. We ended with the slip stitch on this petal, and then we jumped over here and we started with the slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch into the end slip stitch on this petal. So if you look closely, you'll be able to see it. Right about there. And of course it doesn't have to be exact. If you get the other one, it's not that big of a deal. Now I'm going to loosely chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to jump over here to the next space. The slip stitch that was at the end of this petal. If you look right in between, you'll see 1 here, slip stitch, and then the slip stitch for this one. You want to go into the one for this, the end one on this one. Slip stitch right into it, and then we're going to loosely chain 3 again. Now again, jump on over here, spread out your petals, and you'll see this slip stitch right here and this one right here. This one is from the end of this petal, and this one's for the beginning of this one. You want to go in this one, the end of this petal one. Slip stitch into it, loosely chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do that all the way around, and you're going to have these loops. When you make it all the way around with these chain 3 spaces, I have my last chain 3 space on my hook. You want to go ahead and just slip stitch into our very first chain 3 space, kind of down here towards the beginning of it, just like that. Now what you want to do is take these chain 3 spaces and push your petals through and push the spaces to the back. Now all your chain 3 spaces are on the back of your work and your petals are up in front. So now we'll go ahead and start where we left off. Okay, we slip stitched into this first chain 3 space. So now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to go right back into it and do a single crochet, 4 double crochets this time. So we're making our petals bigger this time. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a single crochet and a slip stitch, just like that. So it's like the petals we did before, except for 2 doubles. Instead of 2 doubles, we have 4. So now I'm gonna, if you bend your first row of petals back, you'll be able to work in your next chain easier. I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch over into my next chain space, chain 1, go back in and single crochet, and then 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we go back in and single crochet into the same space and slip stitch into the same space, like that. And then we're going to pull down our next petal and find our next chain space on the back here, slip stitch over into it, chain 1, and then we go back in and single crochet, and then we put 4 doubles. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can slide them over if you need more room. Go back in single crochet and slip stitch, and all of that into the same space. And then we're going to jump over to our next chain 3 space, slip stitch, chain 1, and we're going to do it again. And we're going to make one of these larger petals in every single one of these chain spaces all the way around. And you should have a total of 8 petals again, 8 of the big petals when you get back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back around and you got your 8 big petals done, I went ahead and I did my last slip stitch here. Now to finish, you just want to reach over and slip stitch into the first slip stitch of your first petal. And then you can pull that and you can tie that off, and we'll go ahead and switch colors now. Now you can hide your tails now or you can hide them later. It's completely up to you. I'm going to hide mine later, I think. That's what we got so far. You can kind of fiddle with it if you want to get your petals to look right. Okay. And then you want to take the next color that you're going to use for your leaves. And you can start in any one in between any of these large petals as you want. Remember before when we had the last slip stitch on this one and the first one on this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be working in the last slip stitch on this petal. So go ahead and go right through it and bring your yarn through, and we're going to start with a loose chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we're going to come over to our next petal. There's the last slip stitch on this petal and the first slip stitch on this petal. You want the last slip stitch on this petal. and go right through it. Sometimes they get tight. Slip stitch. Nope. And then loosely chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jump over here to the last slip stitch on this petal. You just gotta look around for it, and it's pretty tight, but get on in there, slip stitch through it. My yarn keeps splitting. Loosely chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to repeat that all the way around, and then again you'll have 8 of these chain 4 spaces. Okay, when you make it all the way around, I got my last chain 4 space on my hook, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the same space that we started our first one into, like that. And again, we're going to push these back just like we did the other ones. So go ahead and push all your petals through. Like that. You go ahead and pick up where you left off. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first chain 4 space. Like that. And I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to go through and do 1 single crochet. Just like that. Now I'm going to do a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. So I want to jump over to my next chain 3 space, and I'm going to do a single crochet 3 together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the next chain 3 space and drop a loop. And I'm going to yarn over and go through that first loop on my hook. Then I'm going to go into the space again, drop a loop, yarn over and go through that first loop on my hook. One more time, I'm going to go into the space, drop a loop, yarn over and go through that first loop on my hook, and you'll have 4 loops left. I'm going to yarn over and go through all 4. Just like that. I'm going to pull it over a little bit, and now I'm going to do a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to do a double crochet 3 together. So I'm gonna yarn over this time and go through the space, drop a loop, and I'm gonna yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. I'm gonna yarn over, go in again, drop a loop, yarn over, go in through the first 2 loops on my hook. One more time, I'm gonna yarn over, go in, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to go through the remaining 4. So that's a double crochet 3 together. Again, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to do a single crochet 3 together again in the same spot. So I'm going to go in through the loop, shawl up a loop, yarn over and go through that first loop on my hook, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first loop on my hook. One more time, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through that first loop, and now you want to yarn over and go through all 4 loops. Now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to jump over to my next loop and do 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And this, I'm going to do it again into the next chain space right here. So this chain space only had 1 single crochet in it. And now I'm going to jump to the next one and make my set of leaves again. So I'm going to do a single crochet 3 together. Then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do a double crochet 3 together. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do a single crochet 3 together again. Just like that. Then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next chain space. Then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to make my set of leaves again in the next space. So single crochet 3 together. Chain 3, double crochet 3 together, chain 3, single crochet 3 together, do the same thing again. Chain 3, jump over to the next chain space and do 1 single crochet, chain 3, and then I'm going to do my set of leaves again. Chain 3, chain 3, and then I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to slip stitch into this first single crochet over here where we started. And now I'm going to clip this color off and switch colors again. So we're done with the little like leaf portion. I call it because they look kind of like leaves. Like that. So now I'm going to take my next color. And now we're going to be working in these chain 3 spaces. So you can start in any chain 3 space that you want. I'll just start like right here where we left off. And I'm going to go ahead and do a chain 3, which is going to count as a double crochet. So 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to go back into that same chain 3 space and do 2 more doubles. And I'm going to try to hide some of these tails as I go. So go back in and do 2 more doubles. There's 1 and 2. So counting that chain 3, we got 3 doubles into that space. Now we're going to jump over to the next space right here and do 3 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to jump over into this next space and do 3 more doubles. 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to do the corner, and we're going to do the corner right here. This is our double crochet 3 together. We're going to do it right here in that stitch of it. So what we're going to do is 2 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and then we're going to chain 2, and we're going to go back into that same spot and do 2 more double crochets. And that's how we're going to do all 4 corners. Just like that. And then I'm going to jump right over here to this next chain 3 space and put 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3. The next chain 3 space right here, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. The next one, 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. The next one right here, 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. And then the corner, which is right here, we're going to do 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. Next chain 3 space is right here. Put 3 doubles. And we're just going to be repeating this pattern all the way around back to the beginning. The next space, 3 doubles. The next space, 3 doubles. The next space, 3 doubles. And then right here is the corner stitch, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 more doubles, and then the next chain 3 space, 3 doubles. And we're just going to do this all the way around until we get back to our starting point. And when you make it back to the beginning, just go ahead and slip stitch into the top of your beginning, chain 3, and then you can kind of pull your corners to straighten it out. Now you can make this square as big as you want. You can go around again, which I will probably do, and I'll do that by chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm just going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to go to the next stitch and double crochet, and the next one, double, and I'm just going to do this all the way around except for my corners. When I get to my corners, it's going to be the exact same thing it was before. We're going to go into the corner space right here, this chain 2 space, and we're going to do 2 doubles, a chain 2, and then 2 more doubles, all back into that corner space. And then I'm going to continue around, putting 1 double crochet in every stitch, but at the end of each corner you want to kind of pull it back, and remember to get this guy right here, because sometimes he hides underneath the stitches. If you don't get him, it's going to be crooked, so make sure you get him. He likes to play hide and go seek, but I can always find him. So it's just 1 double in every stitch all the way around except for the corners. They're going to get 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles, just like the corners before. So I'm going to do this all the way around. And when you make it back to the beginning, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of your beginning chain 3. Now you can keep going as many rounds as you want, but I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And whenever I get as many rounds as I want, I always, now you don't have to do this, this is completely up to you. I always go around it with a row of single crochet. So you can start anywhere you want if you want to do this. Just pick a stitch. Start by chaining 1. I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to work my way around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And then when you get to the corners, it's going to be the same thing as before, except for it's going to be single crochet. So it's going to be 2 single crochets, chain 2, and then go back in and do 2 more single crochets. And that's how the corners are going to be done now. And then you just keep working around. Again, don't forget this little guy that hides. Putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. And again, you do not have to do this. And you do this all the way around, back to the beginning. 1 single in every stitch, except for the corners. We'll be getting 2 singles, chain 2, and 2 singles. Okay, once you get done with that, you just wanted to slip stitch into your first single crochet, and you can tie off. And remember, you can make these as big or as small as you want. This one turned out to be about 6 inches. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to follow along, okay? Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, have a nice day. Okay, for this project I'm going to be using a size I 5.5mm crochet hook, and the yarn I'm using is just scraps of different colors that I have in my basket, so any scraps that you have will work. So I'm going to start with a chain of 4, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the first stitch to form a ring. Like that. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do 16 half doubles through the center of the ring. I'm doing half doubles. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, once you get your 16 half double crochets through the center of the ring, you want to go ahead and slip stitch in your first one, and that will close that round off. I'm just going to tie this color off like that, clip it and everything, and I'm going to start with a new color, and you can start in any stitch that you want to start in. But what we're going to be doing is only working in the front loops. You can see how the loops have, or the stitches, they have 2 loops. You can see them both on my hook there. We're only going to be working this time around in the front loops, like that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go through the front loop of any stitch that you want. Pull the yarn through. Okay. Now I'm going to do a chain of 2, and that chain 2 is counting as a half double crochet. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch, going in the front loop only, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to do a chain 2 again, and then I'm going to come down and slip stitch in the same stitch. So what I did was a chain 2, 3 doubles, a chain 2, and then a slip stitch, all in the same stitch. So the next stitch right here I'm going to slip stitch into, but I'm just going to go into the front loop of it and slip stitch, and then I'm going to go to the next stitch and I'm going to slip stitch into the front loop only. And now I'm going to make another petal. I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets, one, 2, 3, and then I'm going to chain 2 again and slip stitch back into the same stitch, and that's another petal. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next stitch and slip stitch into the front loop only. The next stitch, slip stitch into the front loop only, and then I'll form a petal on this spot. So I'm going to chain 2, go through, do 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, come back down, slip stitch into the same stitch. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, front loop only, and then the next stitch I'm going to slip stitch into front loop only, and this is where I'll do another petal, chain 2, and now I'm going to do 3 doubles, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, back in the same stitch again, slip stitch. So that's the pattern all the way around. The next stitch, you just slip stitch into the front loop, and then slip stitch into the next stitch into the front loop, and then we'll make another petal, chain 2, 3 doubles, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, slip stitch back into the same stitch, like that. So just repeat this pattern until you get back to the beginning, and you should have a total of 8 petals. Okay, I made it back around, and I just did my 8th petal. Now I got 1 stitch left, so I'm going to slip stitch into the front loop of it, like that. Now we're going to be working in the back loops of the same stitch that we didn't go into before. So I'm going to fold these back so I can see. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the back loop of the first stitch. You should see it right there. Right there. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the back of the next loop. And if you look, you'll notice that it's in between these two. So that's where I want to make my next petal, in between, the loop in between these. So I'm in that loop, so I'm going to do a chain 3 this time. And now I'm going to yarn over twice, and in the same loop, I'm going to do 4 triple crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm going to chain 3 again, slip stitch back into the same loop, like that. Okay, now I'm going to go find the next loop, and I'm going to slip stitch into it. And then I'm going to go to the next one, which is going to be in between the next two petals, slip stitch into it, and that's where I'll make my next petal, which will be a chain 3, yarn over twice, and I'm going to do 4 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 3, go back into the same loop and slip stitch. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the next loop, and then the next loop is going to be in between these two, right back here, right here. Slip stitch, and that's where I'll make my next petal, which will consist of chain 3, 4 triples, and then a chain 3, and then slip stitch back into the same loop. One, 2, 3, 4, chain 3, slip stitch back into the same loop. And then I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around. Slip stitch into the next loop, and then slip stitch into the next loop, which will be between the two petals up here, chain 3, and do my petal again. So you just want to repeat this all the way around, and at the end you should have a total of 8 petals again. 8 on this row, I guess 16 altogether. You'll have 8 on this row and then 8 on the top row. So okay, I made it back around and I just did my 8th petal. So now I'm going to slip stitch into the next loop, and then I can tie this off. Okay, straighten it out a little bit. That's what I got so far. Now I'm going to start making the little leaves around it. We're going to be working back here on the second row, and I'm going to be slip stitching in this spot in between the petals. I'll show you here, like right here and here. So just be slip stitching in between the petals. You see this spot right here. That's where we'll be working. So what you want to do is just go into one of them spots right now, any of them that you want, and go ahead and pull your yarn through to start. And I'm going to do a chain of 5, and then I'm going to come right across the front and slip stitch back, slip stitch into this in between the next set of petals. So just go in there and slip stitch it, and then I'm going to chain 5 again, all just came out. Do that again. Sorry. Okay, then I'm going to chain 5 again. Probably got to hold these petals back. And then I'm going to come over here in between the next petals and slip stitch in between them. It's kind of awkward. I wish you could see it better, but so right in between them. Slip stitch. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come over here in between the next set of petals. Slip stitch. Chain 5. Slip stitch in between the next set. And that's what you want to do the whole way around. Slip stitch, chain 5, slip stitch, chain 5, okay, and I come back around to where I started, and I'm just going to slip stitch into the first stitch that I slip stitched into. I'm just going to slip stitch again, like that. Pull up a loop real quick. So now what I want to do is, I got to push these loops behind these petals. Like this. So we're going to be working on behind. Just like that. Now I'm going to put my needle back in place. And starting with this first loop here, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the loop. And then I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to single crochet into the same loop. And then I'm going to chain 3. And I'm going to come over to the next loop. I'm going to do a triple crochet 3 together in this next loop. So I'm going to yarn over twice, go into the loop, and start to do a triple crochet. Yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through 2 again, and instead of yarning over and going through, I'm going to leave these 2 loops on my hook and yarn over twice and go back through again. I'm going to do that again, yarn over and go through the first 2, the next 2, and I'm going to leave these on my hook, yarn over twice again, do the same thing, yarn over and go through the first 2, and I'll have 4 loops on my hook because there's my 3 triple crochets, and now I'm just going to yarn over and go through all 4 loops. And that's how you do a triple crochet 3 together. And now I'm going to chain 3. And I'm still going to be working in the same loop. Now I'm going to I guess it's a double triple crochet 3 together. So I'm going to yarn over, grab it 3 times, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, 2 again, and 2 again, and leave the last 2 that's on my hook. Wrap 3 times, go in, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, first two, wrap 3 times. We're going to do that one more time. Draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, the next 2 loops, yarn over in the next 2 loops, and then I'll have 4 loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 4. Now I'm going to chain 3 again, and now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to triple crochet 3 together. So yarn over twice, go into the same loop again. These are all going in the same loop. Yarn over and go through the first 2 and 2 again. Leave these loops on my hook. Wrap twice, drop a loop, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the first 2, leave these loops on my hook, wrap twice, yarn over and go through the first 2, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over and go through all 4, like that. And those 3 sets were all done in the same loop. Now I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to move to the next loop, and I'm going to single crochet into the next loop, like that. And now I'm going to move to the next loop, chain 3, and I'm going to do this again in the next loop. So I'm going to start with a triple crochet 3 together, yarn over twice, go in, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, yarn over and go through the next 2 loops, yarn over twice, go into the loop, draw lip, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the next 2, leave these loops on my hook, wrap twice, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, the next 2, yarn over, go through all 4 loops on my hook, triple crochet 3 together, chain 3. Now I'm going to do the, I think it's a double, triple, whatever this was over here, or a quadruple stitch, I'm not sure, but yarn over 3 times, go into the same loop, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, leave these loops on my hook, wrap 3 times, go into the loop, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, yarn over and go through the next 2, leave these loops on my hook, wrap 3 times, go in one more time, first 2, next 2, next 2, and then you'll have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through all 4, chain 3, and now I'm going to do this again, the triple crochet 3 together, just like we did. Just like that. And I'm going to chain 3 again, and now I'm going to jump over to the next loop, and I'm going to single crochet in it, chain 3, go to the next loop, and I'm going to work my leaf stitches again. So I'm going to triple crochet 3 together, chain 3, and then in the same loop do my double, triple 3 together, chain 3, triple crochet, 3 together again. Chain 3, go to the next loop, single crochet, chain 3, and in the next loop we will do our leaves again. I just did my last leaf set, so I'm going to chain 3 again, and then I'm going to slip stitch right here in my very first single crochet that I did. And then I'm going to clip this off. And now I'm going to go around it all. Straighten it out here a little bit. So I'm going to take my next color. And I'm going to start right here in the top of this tallest stitch. You can see it right there. Just go right into that, and that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start by doing a chain 3. I'm going to go back into the same stitch and do a double crochet. And then I'm going to chain 2. Go back in the same stitch again and do 2 more doubles. So I'm forming the corner of the square. Like that. Now I'm going to jump over here to this chain 3 space. And I'm going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And then in the next chain 3 space, I'm going to put 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, and then in this next one, 3 doubles. Three doubles in the next chain 3 space. And now I'm going to come up on this corner. I'm at my tallest leaf again. So I'm going to form a corner right here in this stitch. So I'm going to put 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles, all in that same stitch. Now I'm going to work around again, putting 3 double crochets in each of the chain 3 spaces. And this is a pattern you want to just keep going around, putting 3 doubles in each of the chain 3 spaces, like that. And then when you get to your tallest leaf, the stitch right up here that holds them all together, you do your 2 doubles, chain 2 and 2 more doubles. Okay, I made it all the way around. Now I'm just to close off, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of our very first chain 3. And then I can clip this off. And you can go around again if you want a bigger square, but then you probably have to straighten up your flower a little bit. Straighten out my corners. And that is it. That's all there is to it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and please check out all my other tutorials. I have a lot of tutorials on a lot of crochet things. If you make this or anything else, you can always check me out on Facebook and post a picture of it. I'd really like to see it. And until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this sunflower granny square. It's about 10 inches across, so it's a little bit of a larger one. And you could probably even make it bigger by doing more rows of the outside here. I'm using regular Red Heart Super Saver, which is a worsted weight acrylic. You can use any colors that you want, but I'm going to use coffee for the center. And then I got bright yellow for the flower, hunter green for the leaves, and then regular white for the border. And then I'm going to be using an eye, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Okay, starting with the center. Please excuse this big Kool-Aid stain there. I tried getting it up, it just wouldn't come off. It stained my counter. Kids. Okay, you want to start with a slip knot on your hook. And then we're going to start with a chain of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to slip stitch back into the very first stitch to form a ring. And you can use the magic circle here too if you want. Now I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to work 12 double crochets through the center of the ring. So I'm going to yarn over and go through the center, pull my yarn back through, and then do my double. And I want to do that a total of 12 times. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, once you get your 12 double crochets, you can usually pull your tail here and it'll make that, oh, I broke mine, center a little bit smaller. But otherwise we'll just sew it together at the end. Okay, now you want to slip stitch into your very first double crochet, not that chain 1, but the double crochet, like that. And now I'm going to chain 1 again. Okay, round 2, I want to put 2 double crochets in every stitch around. So I'm going to go ahead and back into the same stitch, and I'm going to put 2 double crochets in it, in the same one. So there's 1, 2. Now I'm going to work my way around, putting 2 double crochets in every stitch all the way around until I get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 24 double crochets. Okay, when you make it all the way around and you have a total of 24 double crochets, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first double crochet and then clip your yarn, and we'll tie that off. Pull that through. Okay, and there's the center. Sorry, it's kind of dark, but now we'll start on the petals. Now you can start in any stitch that you want. Okay. Now I'm going to start off by chaining 2. And that chain 2 is counting as a half double crochet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a double crochet into the same stitch. And now I'm going to do 2 triple crochets into the same stitch. So that's where I yarn over twice. There's 1. And there's 2. Now I'm going to do a picot stitch on top of this triple crochet. So that's where I'm just going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go back down and slip stitch into the first chain. I actually like to slip stitch right here at the top of this triple crochet. I grab that loop and then the side loop. I think it holds better that way, like that. And go and slip stitch, and that puts a little kind of ball or a little point on top of that stitch. Now I'm going to do another triple crochet in the same stitch. And then I'm going to do 1 double into the same stitch. And then 1 half double. And that will complete our first petal. So what we did was a chain 2, which was considered a half double, 1 double, 1 triple, another triple, and then the picot, another triple, 1 double, and a half double. And that's what forms the petal. So now what I'm going to do is slip stitch in the next 2 stitches. Sometimes you have to pull this over and make sure you get the next stitch, because sometimes it gets hidden under this petal. But go ahead and slip stitch into the next, and then slip stitch over into the next one. And this is where I'll start my next petal. So I'm going to chain 2, which counts as a half double. Now I'm going to do 1 double, two triples, 1, 2, and I'm going to picot on the top of this triple, so I'm going to chain 3, come back down and slip stitch right here. You can go into the very first stitch and slip stitch if you want, but I always grab these 2 side stitches like that and slip stitch, and that's going to make the little point at the top. Now I'm going to do another triple, a double, and 1 half double, like that. So it was a half double, double. It's actually 3 triples, but the middle one has the picot, and then a double and a half double. And again, I'm going to slip stitch over to the next, over into 2 stitches over. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch one more time into the next. And now again, I'm going to do another petal. So I'm going to chain 2 as my half double, and I'm going to put 1 double, 2 triples, so there's 1, 2, and then I'm going to do my picot, so 1, 2, 3, come back down and slip stitch right here on the sides, that, and then I'm going to do another triple, a double, and 1 half double. And that is how it's going to be done the whole way around. Slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the next, and start my next petal. So I'm going to keep going around, and when I get back around I should have a total of 12 petals. Okay, once you make it all the way around, I just did my last petal here and I got one stitch left. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch in to that stitch. Now I'm going to make some chain spaces to do another row of petals. So just starting here where I left off, I'm going to do a chain of 4. A loose chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It don't have to be tight or anything. Now I'm going to come on over here in between the next 2 petals, and I'm going to slip stitch into the slip stitch that's in between these 2 petals. So right there. It actually doesn't have to be exact, just it can be either one of these 2 little slip stitches that we did. So I usually do the one right here, the first one that you see, but either spot is fine, like that. Now I'm going to loosely chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to come on over in between the next 2. One of these little slip stitches here, and slip stitch again, loosely chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, come on over here to the next, in between the next 2 petals, find your slip stitch again, and I'm going to do this all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, come in between the next 2, slip stitch, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and when I get back around I'll have 12 of these chain 4 spaces. Okay, I made it all the way around, and I just did my last chain 4 here. Now I'm just gonna slip stitch into the same spot as my first chain here, where we ended right here. I'm just gonna slip stitch right into that spot. Now I'm not gonna tie off here. What I'm gonna do is kind of pull my yarn up so I don't lose it. Now I'm gonna take all these chains and I'm gonna push them behind the petals. So, like that. That way our next row of petals will be behind. Okay, and that's kind of what we have so far. Okay, now we're going to start again with our next row of petals. And it's similar to the ones we just did, but they're just going to be a little bit bigger, so they're going to have more stitches. So we're going to start off by slip stitching right over here, just right into this next chain space. And we're going to chain 2, and that's going to be our half double crochet. Now we're going to do 2 double crochets. All this is going to be worked through this chain space. So there's 1, 2, and now we're going to do 3 triples in a row. Oh, sorry about that. There's 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to do the picot on top of this one. So I'm going to chain 3, come back down and slip stitch right here along the side to to make that little point on top. And now I'm going to do 2 triple crochets. 1, 2, and now I'm going to do 2 double crochets. 1, 2, and then I'm going to do 1 half double crochet. There it is. So it's bigger, and what it is the chain 2, which is the half double, and then we did 2 doubles, and then we really did 5 triples, but that third one, that middle one, is the one that has the point on it. And then we did 2 doubles and a half double. Now again, we're just going to slip stitch right over into the next chain space and start again. Chain 2. You can slide them over too if it starts to get kind of crowded. Now I'm going to do 2 doubles, 1, 2, 3 triples, 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to do the picot on top of this one. 2, 3, chain 3, come back down and slip stitch right here on the side, and now we're going to do 2 more triples. 1, 2, 2 doubles, 1, 2, 1 half double, and there's our second petal. Now we're just gonna jump over to the next chain space and slip stitch, and we're just going to repeat this all the way around, and you'll have a total of 12 petals back here and 12 petals up here. So we did our 12 up here, and then we get back around, we'll have 12 in the back. Okay, when you make it all the way around, I just did my last petal. I'm just going to slip stitch right here into my first slip stitch that I did, and then I'm going to tie this off, clip it, and it might look kind of like that, and that's fine. You just got to get it laid flat, because these petals, I made it to where they would curl and kind of look like a sunflower, I guess. So you just got to kind of curl them, get them situated here to make it lay flat. I thought it looked pretty that way, I don't know. There we go. Okay, now we'll go ahead and start putting the leaves on. So I'm going to switch my color here to my green. And now we're going to be making the chains again to attach the leaves to. So you can work just any spot in between one of these 2 back petals and start in the slip stitch that's in between them. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the chain of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can be a loose chain of 5. And now I'm just going to swing over here into the in between the next 2 back petals and slip stitch right there in that slip stitch. Loose chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, come over here in between the next 2 petals, pull them apart. That slip stitch right there, go ahead and slip stitch right through it. Yep, I dropped it. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In between the next 2, pull them apart, and you can see that slip stitch right there. And I'm going to do this all the way around. And when you get back around, you should have 12 of these chain 5 spaces. Okay, when you make it back around to the beginning, you just want to go ahead and slip stitch into the first spot that you started in. Just slip stitch into it again to end it. Now I'm not going to tie off here, but I am going to pull up like that, and I'm going to push these loops or these chain spaces behind this set of petals like we did before. Okay, we'll be able to fix our petals again later. I know they get kind of funky looking, but okay, now we're just going to start where we left off. So get my yarn back on my hook. Okay, I want to go ahead and slip stitch over into the next chain space. I'm going to chain 1. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into this space like that, and now I'm going to do a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to jump over to the next chain space, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to jump to the next chain space, and now we're going to do a set of leaves. And we're going to have 4 sets of leaves, which are going to represent the 4 corners of the square. So what we're going to do, I still have this chain 4 on my hook, working in this next chain space. I'm going to start by doing a double crochet 5 together. So what I'm going to do is just yarn over, go through the loop, or through the chain space, and draw up a loop. And then I'm going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. And I'm going to do that a total of 5 times. So that was 1. So I'm going to yarn over, go through the space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. So that's twice. Again, I'm going to yarn over, go through, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first two loops on my hook. So there's 3 times. Again, yarn over, go through the space, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. So that's 4 times. I'm going to do that one more time. Yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on my hook, and that'll leave me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and go through all 6. So that is a double crochet 5 together. Now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Working in the same chain space, so I'm going to slide that over. I'm going to do a triple crochet 5 together, which is pretty much kind of the same, but this time we're going to yarn over twice. Go through the loop, draw up, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on my hook, and yarn over and go through the next 2 loops. And I'm going to repeat that for a total of 5 times. So that was 1. Yarn over twice, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops. So that's 2 times. Again, wrap twice, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 2 loops. So that was 3 times. Again, yarn over twice, go through, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops. So that is 4 times. So I'm going to do it one more time. Wrap or yarn over twice, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go through the next 2 loops, and again you should have a total of 6 loops on your hook. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want to yarn over and go through all 6 loops. So that is a triple crochet 5 together. And again, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Working in the same chain space again. I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to do another set of double crochet 5 together. So I'm going to yarn over, going in the same space, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops on my hook. I want to do that for a total of 5 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 6, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that completes that leaf section. So now I'm going to jump to the next chain space here and do 1 single crochet. I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and jump to the next chain space, 1 single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next chain space is going to be another leaf section. So you'll have a total of 4 leaf sections. So we'll go ahead and start again. I got this chain 4 still on my hook. I'm going to do a double crochet 5 together. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have 6 loops on my hook. Yarn over, go through all 6, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slide this over because I'm going to be working in the same space, and I'm going to do a triple crochet 5 together. So I'm going to yarn over twice this time, go through, yarn over, go through the first 2 and the next 2. So that's 1, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through all 6, oops, chain 4, 4, slide this over. Now I'm going to do a double crochet 5 together again in the same spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops on your hook, and we'll go through all 6, chain 4, and there's your second leaf section. So I'm going to jump over to the next chain space here, 1 single crochet, chain 4, jump over to the next chain space, 1 single crochet, chain 4, and then I'm going to jump over to the next chain space and work my set of leaves again. So I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around. Okay, I just did my last leaf section and I chained 4, and now I'm back to the beginning. So I just want to slip stitch into this first single crochet we did, where we slip stitched into the chain space and we chained 1, and then we did a single crochet, slip stitch into that single crochet. And now I'm going to tie this off. And now when you lay it out, it's still going to be kind of bubbly, but it'll lay flat once we get it all straightened out. We got some leaves on it now. Now let's get this thing squared off. So pick whatever color you want to use for the border. And we're going to start, pick out any one of your leaf sections. And we're going to start right here in the big section, the triple crochet 5 together. And if you look and you pull it up, you'll see the stitch that they all came together. We're going to start in that. Now that is going to be our corner on all 4 spots. That is where we'll make our corner. So we're just going to start there, and we're going to start by chaining 1, and now we're going to go right back into that same stitch into 2 double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to go back into that same stitch still and do 2 more double crochets. So that's how the corners are going to be formed, like that. Now I'm going to come over here to this next chain space, and I'm going to put 4 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to jump to the next chain space right here, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next chain space right here, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next chain space right here, 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next chain space, which is right here in between these 2 leaves, 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're right here again, and right here in this big leaf, and that stitch right there, we're going to do our corner. So we're going to go and do 2 doubles, and then we're going to chain 2, go back in that same spot and do 2 more doubles. So that is our second corner formed, and you can see that it's starting to get squared off a bit. So now I'm going to work my way across again, putting 4 double crochets in each one of the chain spaces. So right here in between these 2 petals or 2 leaves, 4 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the next chain space right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, the next chain space, 1, 2, 3, one. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next one, which is right here in between these two leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then right here in this big leaf up here in this one stitch, we're going to 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. So now I'm just going to repeat this all the way around. We already got 3 of our corners done until I get back to the beginning. Okay, when you make it all the way around, I'm going to go around again. So what I'm going to do is slip stitch here into my first double crochet, like that. And I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and put a double crochet. And then I'm going to double crochet into my next stitch. And then you'll see the next spot is the chain 2 space, the corner space. I'm going to go ahead and do two doubles. Chain 2. And then 2 more doubles back into that same spot. And now I'm going to work my way around putting 1 double crochet in every single double crochet. So, and you want to make sure you get this one. Sometimes these stitches hide it, but pull them back and double crochet. So I'm going to put 1 double in each one of these doubles until I get to the next corner spot. Okay, when you make it to the next corner spot, again, you just want to put 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles back into the same spot. Oh. And then I'm going to work my way across again, putting 1 double crochet in each stitch until I get to my next corner, and that's where I'll put my 2 doubles. Chain 2 and 2 doubles, and I'm just going to repeat this pattern all the way around and back to the beginning. Okay, when you make it back to the beginning, you just want to slip stitch into your first double crochet. Now right here is where I'm going to stop, and it turns out to be about a 10-inch square. If you want to make it bigger, you can just continue to go around in that same manner and get it bigger if you want. That's completely up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and clip this off. And now I'm going to take it, and I always like to pull the corners out, get them straight. And I'm going to put a border on it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I always border my squares. They look more finished that way. I'm going to use my yellow to do it. So it's just going to be a single crochet border. You can start in any stitch, doesn't really matter, just wherever. And just go ahead and start off. Chain 1. I'm going to go right back into that same stitch, and I'm going to do a single crochet. And now I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, except for the corners. When I get to the corners, right here in this space, I'm going to work 3 single crochets in the corners. 1, 2, 3, like that. And then I'm just going to continue around, making sure you get this first one here, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. So the border is real easy. If you decide to put it on, that's completely up to you. So it's 1 single in every stitch, except for the corners. Get 3 single crochets in each stitch. Or, I'm sorry, 3 single crochets in that corner chain space. Okay, when you make it back around, you just want to go ahead and slip stitch into that first single crochet. Tie this off. And then you got tails to hide and stuff. I'll do that in a little bit, but just like that. And oh my, I got lots of tails to hide. Some of my hid when I was crocheting, so okay. And you just want to go ahead and straighten out. Then I always fix my little petals here because they're meant to be kind of curvy. But that's it. That's all there is to it. I think it's really turned out nice. It's really so bright and cheery with that yellow. I'll probably make a few more and make something out of it. But that's it. And until next time, have a good day.